Welcome everyone to the Mystery Box Show live stream. I'm Reba Sparrow. I will be your mistress of ceremonies this evening. Welcome and thank you for being here. Before we get started tonight, I did want to acknowledge and thank everyone who's been checking in on us. We are coming to you live from Portland, Oregon. As many of you know, the Pacific Northwest, specifically Oregon, Washington, and California, has been experiencing devastating wildfires. We are safe and healthy here in North Portland. The air quality is terrible, but we're safe and healthy. We're doing everything that we can to help those who are experiencing loss and devastation. If you have the means, we encourage you to do that as well. And hopefully tonight, this show will serve as some respite, a nice mental break for you. These storytellers have worked incredibly hard on these stories and they're fantastic. We can't wait to share them with you. With that being said, what is this anyway? What are you here to see and hear? You're at a storytelling show, folks. If you're brand new, I'll explain what's happening. If you're a returning fan, as a reminder, we have 4 incredible storytellers for you tonight. We couldn't be more pleased with this lineup. And they will be sharing with you true personal stories from their lives, all about sex. I just looked off screen because Eric is off screen here. He'll be doing all of the tech work tonight for the show. We have Nicole, our production assistant, who's joining us as well, and she will be monitoring the chat. So please put in all of your chat questions and comments. Nicole will be responding. We have the storytellers here for you. Storytellers wave, they're in the virtual backstage, just excited and ready to share their stories with you. And we would love to know, where are all of you tuning in from? Let us know in the chat. We love knowing where everyone's coming in from. That's one of the benefits of these live streams, is that people are tuning in from all over the world. I see we've got Adam Smith here from Melbourne. I think Adam has been to every one of our live streams, if I remember correctly. We know we've got some folks from here in Portland. And I see people comment, yep, more Portland folks. We're so glad that Portland folks are tuning in and they're safe and staying inside right now as much as possible. And great, Southern Illinois, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. We are super thrilled to be back in September. It is Sexual Health Awareness Month. We took the month of August off of a show because we've been working on a virtual silent auction, which we'll tell you more about in a little bit. So not only do we have an amazing lineup of stories for you tonight, there's also going to be an opportunity during intermission for you, the audience, to share some sexy secrets of your own. We're gonna have a giveaway, and then we hope that you'll stick around for the virtual after party after the show, and that's where you get to talk directly to the storytellers and talk to each other about the things that you've just seen. We'll announce the winners of the giveaway during the after party, and we will be launching our silent auction, which I'm super duper excited about. So, one last thing before we begin. We know that when it comes to the topic of sex and sexuality, some subjects are more sensitive than others. So we encourage you to take care of yourselves in any way that you see fit, but please consider this a blanket trigger warning. So without further ado, we thought it would be appropriate, since this is Sexual Health Awareness Month, to begin the evening with the founder of a sexual wellness blog and body safe company called Ardently, which is at ardently.com. I found this gal on Instagram actually because I follow her shop. She's charming and educational, and I just thought she'd be amazing on the show, and she is. So without further ado, please welcome into your homes Tatiana Shirley.
Interior, backseat of an old stick shift, moonlight cascading over me. There I am with a cock throbbing in my mouth, and I'm trying not to fall asleep. And I'm trying not to fall asleep. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know we're live. Okay.
All right, folks, we're going to try that one more time. We had a technical difficulty when Tatiana got started, and it kind of threw her off a little bit. But this is the joy of live theater, folks. You're seeing it as it's happening. Let's go ahead and give her a fresh start. So, Tatiana, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, girl, you got this. Everyone, welcome for the first time to your screens, Tatiana Shirley.
Interior, backseat of an old stick shift, moonlight cascading over me. There I am with a cock throbbing in my mouth while I'm trying not to fall asleep. But I do a little, slow back and forth motion so he knows that I'm still with him, but I'm ready to go home. That is until he says the unthinkable to me. He spews out, "Wow, you are so beautiful." And I'm sure that I heard him wrong. So there I am with his cock still in my mouth, and I'm going, "What? I can't hear you." And he tells me, repeats himself, and says, "You are so cute." Suddenly, I am no longer tired. I've actually never heard of the word exhaustion. I am now 5-hour energy from this point forward. And this took me for such a whirlwind because I was heavily crushing on my friends with benefits. Needless to say, he was not crushing on me. But this was a moment where I started to think maybe this could be something. I felt like he had seen me for the first time. So I started doing the math in my head. I'm saying 1+1 is telling me we end up happily ever after together. The cock is in my mouth. I'm deep throating. Moonlight is over me. This is romantic. To make a long story short, I've never been too good at math. So I knew I had to move on, and I took my DSLs with me, AKA dick sucking lips. Now, after him, I decided to start my sexual journey. I started to explore and see my options that were out there. And in that process, I was praised heavily for my blowjob ability. I knew I had a gold mine in my hands or face, whatever. So from that point forward, I was just like, wow, this is great. This is my superpower. That is until I met my current boyfriend. We'll name him Tom. And you know how guys are like, "Oh, I'm a gentleman. I make sure she gets hers before I get mine." My guy was more like, "I'm a gentleman. I make sure she gets hers." And that was it. And he was turning me into a real life pillow princess. I could count how many times on my hand, how many times he asked for head, and that would be 0. So I knew it was my responsibility to take the initiative. And it wasn't like I had never given him head, it was just rare. So here we are in his bedroom, and he just finished going down on me for a rounded 30 minutes. His tongue was putting in some serious work. So I'm like gasping and shaking, and my mind is racing, going like, wow, I am dealing with an Olympian here. So naturally, I'm like, I too can put in the work. I too can get the job done, blowjob, if you will, if I may. And he astounds me with the words, "No, it's okay, baby. Can I interview you instead?" I am blasted with a cannon. I am shocked at what I just heard. I could not show him my gratitude and admiration for the 30-minute head that he just gave me. And I mean, sure, I could ride him, cowgirl, whatever, but it just was not in the same playing field. My power had been dismantled and launched onto the moon. That's pretty far, okay? So over time, I got the message, and I'm thinking, wow, I suck at head. And can I even say I suck at head if I'm not doing any sucking? Like, I had met my ego in the form of a penis. I practically forgot how to give head. So I stepped down from my throne and was pronounced as a pillow princess. And I was perfectly happy with that. But there was something lingering in the back of my mind, wondering, why am I not good enough to pleasure him in every way? Eventually, Tom and I broke up for like a season, and I wanted to move on and explore my options as I do. And I learned that I never got bad at head. My head game was still right exactly where I left it. So I felt beautiful and cute and validated all over again, something that was kind of missing in my previous relationship. Fast forward, um, we get back together, you know, and we weren't hooking up. We were taking things slow. So eventually, we're in my room watching the Avatar, and he, the sexual tension has built. It's been a while. We hadn't done anything. And he's like, I want you. And I was like, oh, wow. Actually, I'm on my period tonight. So can we just like skip that? And he was like, so sweetly, he was like, oh, that's okay, baby. I totally understand, and then a light bulb moment hit. And I'm going, what if I give you head and I want to try to make you come? And he says to me, I'd like to see you try. And try, I did. I gave everything I got. I pulled out all the stops. Like, I could not play around with this. This was my opportunity. You know how Cardi B says in that new song, I want you to hit that thingly thing that's swinging in the back of my throat? I needed that. I needed him to do that. So as his cock is like thrusting in my mouth, I could feel myself start to like build up and regurgitate. So I'm like, okay, wait, no, you need to swallow that. This is your opportunity. Swallow that down. Okay. And he's like, I'm so close, so close. I'm so close. So that was my driving force. And I was just like, just swallow it. You're a champ. And as he's like telling me, oh my gosh, I'm going to come. I'm about to come. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to throw up. I already swallowed it, but it came back. It was not finished. And so as he bursted into my mouth, I like vomited all over his crotch. And it was just like a mixture of just chaos. So I'm looking down at his penis, and there is vomit, my vomit, all over him and on his hands, on his penis. And I'm mortified. And then I look up to him and he's smiling. And he's like, you did it, baby, you did it. And I'm like, I did it. I made you come. And we're just like super hyped. But we're like, oh my gosh, there's vomit on you. So I get up and grab my cum rag like the classy lady I am. I have a cum rag on hand. And I'm just like cleaning him up. And we're just like cheering and like just shocked that this just really happened. And when it's strange how like when I regurgitated or vomited on him, it was like a big burden, a weight was lifted. I no longer felt that pressure to be like sexy and validated through head. I realized that was not my power. He just thought I was this beautiful, extraordinary girl on my own. So
that was Tatiana Shirley, everyone, coming to you live from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I love this story so much. I wanted to say something clever about like, did anyone call attention to the fact that they were watching Avatar and wasn't like the quote in that movie, I see you, or something like that? I'm trying to remember it. Amazing, Tatiana. You know that you're amazing when you can vomit all over someone and they're like, yeah, that was the hottest. So, well done.
Still accept you after you vomit. Your dinner is on their lap. How does that happen, and how do I still have a boyfriend? Beats me.
As you said, like the classy lady that you are. All right, folks, we have another storyteller for you coming up. We are always accepting pitches from everyone. We have an open call policy, and from time to time we seek out people as well. This next storyteller actually saw a video that we had posted on this YouTube channel as a call for storytellers and decided to pitch a story. And we are so glad that she/he pitched this story because it's fantastic. And so coming to you live from Queens, New York, please welcome to the virtual stage, EARTHNOVA.
It was late at night and in the dead of winter that I was at that door. The door I reached in a desperate hope to become lovable. I had never really liked myself. All my hobbies were solitary. I didn't like the things that everyone else does to make friends. I don't like bars. I don't like sports, nightclubs. And even when I am adjacent to other people, just talking is difficult for me because of my disability. I am autistic. So, of course, a loser like me has never been on a date or had a first kiss. But then I heard about something that might fix this. So I got on a train to Brooklyn in the winter on the night before my 25th birthday to get to a queers only sex party to lose my virginity. When I got to that door, I didn't know I had the right address at first, because it's not as if they had a big sign up front advertising the depravity within. I didn't see a building number even, but in the little window in the door, I could see a guy beckoning me. So I come in out of the cold and he asked me for the $20 fee. And then he directs me to the least handicap accessible stairs I had ever seen, at the bottom of which, on the right, there was the pants check, and on the left was a changing area. I properly researched the rules to this party beforehand when I heard about it from my bisexual support group. So I knew the rule is you strip down to your underwear, socks, shoes, everything else has to be checked. So I stripped down, I handed the pants check guy coat, scarf, shirt, pants, all of it. And then he asked me for $1. And I told him I paid the other guy. And it turns out the pants check fee is separate. I felt like I was getting nickel and dimed already, but okay, fine, whatever. I take back the pants, take out the wallet, take out the $1, hand that back. And then he gave me a plane ticket. And I asked him, what am I supposed to do with this? You just took away my pockets. And he paused before answering me as if I was the first person to ever wonder this. And he's like, put in your sock? Okay, fine, whatever. I'm just powering through. Okay, I get through all that and I'm finally in. I go in, and through the dazzling lights of the legit disco ball in the ceiling, I could see in the room a stripper pole, a couple of benches, a folding table with some snacky cakes, entrance to some sort of maze, and a DJ booth blaring out 90s pop hits. I didn't see that many people though, because it turns out when you're on time for a sex party, that's actually early. So I sit on the bench, powering through the lights and the music, and it's uncomfortable, but basically the same as any night out because of my disability. But I already knew how to cope with these things and mask that from everybody else. So I sit down and I watch other people come in, and I sort of compare myself to them, trying to find somebody in my league. So when I found a possible candidate, someone to talk to, I do what I do to start a conversation. The way I learned to speak with my disability is sort of like one of the conversation trees from a BioWare game. Cause like you've got like several options, and the entire point of me coming to this party instead of the nightclub it looks like is my thinking goes that instead of navigating through 50 different options over weeks and months to get to the sex part, everyone here is doing or talking about it anyway. So it's gotta be like only 2 options. But trying to navigate these options in my head, thinking what I could say, what they would respond with, what I should respond with that's appropriate, while blocking out the lights and the music. It was very taxing on my concentration, and I still couldn't even speak to somebody. Even when it's the most easy I've ever made it, I still failed. A couple of hours in, one of the hosts, Pickles, went around asking people how it's going, checking in. And when she got to me, I started unloading about how much I wasn't going. I told her I didn't know what I should be doing here. So she decided to take me on a little tour of the place, through the maze, looking at the beds, the swings, the people using them. And then she gave me some advice. She told me that I was putting too much pressure on myself. I should talk to people without an agenda. I was basically doing just fine. So I sit with this on the bench, trying to block out the music. And then I notice somebody being tied to the stripper pole. She was wearing some sort of cookie cutter schoolgirl outfit, and she looked like she was just trying out being a woman for the night. And after stringing her up, Pickles announced that she was looking for someone to spank her. So she was asking for volunteers to come up, and she picked me. She grabbed me, brought me right up to the pole, handed me the whip. And so I approached this like one of those old Sierra or LucasArts puzzles. You know, use whip, on masochist, get moans. And I was finally able to block out everything else, the lights, the music, and I could focus on the task ahead of me. I delivered precise strikes, and I listened to her responses and adjusted to deliver maximum pleasure to her. And I later learned this is basically being a submissive top, and it clicked for me. I was succeeding. I was actually pleasuring someone doing something that was natural to me, just using process I already knew, and it felt right. So afterwards, we were chatting. And I learned that she's an engineer. She, on the side, makes spanking machines that are way harder, that deliver massive wallop. She also told me her name, but I forgot that one right away. It's something like Tabitha, Teresa, Tracy, something with a T. Anyway, as I was trying to block out the music, listening to her, I was thinking back in my head that maybe she likes me. I don't know. And then she touched me on the penis. And then I knew with slightly more certainty that maybe she does like me. And then I touched her on her penis. And it was like I completed a circuit. It felt amazing. I was finally doing it, the thing I'm here for. And it was exactly what I was looking for. After a little bit of this, she asked me if I would like to stick my penis up her ass. So I answered with alacrity. I got her flipped over, lubed up, condom on, ready to go. I'm in, and I'm trying to focus on what's in front of me, but the music and the lights are interfering. I can't concentrate. I'm trying to force it, make it to go, and I lost the erection after 3 seconds. After all that, after all the success, I still failed. She turns around and asks me what happened. So I had to admit that I lost it. I'm still not good. And then she asked me if there was something I wanted to do. It was okay. It was okay that I couldn't do what other people do. That I can just do what I like. I don't have to be someone else. So I suggested something I always fantasized about: 69ing. We did it. I liked it, and it was great. I didn't have to pretend. I could just be honest, and it worked out. I'm fine the way I am. So at last call, I go back to the pants check, give back my claim ticket, take everything back, and I'm putting on everything I brought with me: the pants, shirt, scarf, jacket. But that desperation I started with, I decided to leave it. I didn't need that anymore. So I walked back up the stairs, out back into the brisk early morning, through the same door. I entered a 24-year-old loser and left as a 25-year-old player, starting a new save file. Happy birthday to me.
Indeed, happy birthday to you. I love that you checked your desperation at the pants check on your way out the door. Awesome story from EARTHNOVA, everyone, coming to you live from Queens, New York. That was amazing. Folks, thank you so much for being here. It means the world to us and to the storytellers that you're spending your evening with us. If you would love to be more involved with the Mystery Box Show, we do have a Patreon page. You can become a patron for as little as $3 a month. There are a lot of different options there. You can also support the Mystery Box Show with a one-time donation if you are feeling called to do so, and that link is on the screen. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date with all of the things that are happening and all of the new content. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and these links are also on our website at mysteryboxshow.com. You can tell a story with us. We would absolutely love to hear from you if you're thinking, I got some stories I could share, especially after hearing and being inspired by the stories you hear tonight. We have pitch guidelines on our website. Again, that's mysteryboxshow.com. And just you being here for these stories tonight is a huge show of support. Thank you so far for the folks who have sent in the super chats. Adam and Rose, thank you so much. You can do that on the chat window if you're feeling called to do that. We want to show you a little token of our appreciation. We've got a couple of giveaways. This is one of the funnest parts of the show for me anyway, because I always get to demonstrate the sex toy. This here is the Limba Flex from Fun Factory. And it's unique in that, yes, it's a blue dildo, but it is a flexi blue dildo. I'm not just like superwomaning this. This is meant to be flexible to fit your specific body type. And I specifically adore this because I'm a person who has, I was about to say this might be TMI, but what am I talking about? What show are you watching? I have a low sitting cervix and it's tilted a little bit even. So sometimes when I'm sitting on an especially large cock or toy that's meant to give lots of pleasure, I actually experience pain because it's like supposed to be one size fits all. But this just flexes to fit anything. And so it's good to go up the vaginal canal. It's good to reach the prostate through hashtag all the holes is what this is good for. It's great in your strap-on. It also, I don't think I have a hard surface here, maybe my phone. It suctions. It suctions. So you can put this like in the shower. You know what? You could even use it as a wall hook. I don't know. We're going to be giving away one of these at the after party, and I'll tell you how in a moment. You can also go to Fun Factory's website, funfactoryusa.com, and get 20% off of anything on their site with code MYSTERYBOX. So that's funfactoryusa.com, code MYSTERYBOX. And alongside this LimbaFlex dildo, we're also giving away some Missionary chocolates that are handcrafted here in Portland by our favorite chocolatier. They are vegan and gluten-free and made by a naturopathic doctor. The second giveaway we have is this perfect quarantine pastime, a Clone-A-WILLY kit from Clone-A-WILLY, which is, and it's vibrating, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can clone your favorite or generic penis, like it doesn't have to be your favorite. You can clone this and it's a vibrating dildo. And this one glows in the dark too. I forget to mention that sometimes. Like a glowing, vibrating copy of a penis. Amazing. Alongside some Missionary chocolates as well. And I know you're wondering, but how do I win? What do I do? Well, I'm gonna tell you just a little tiny anecdote that leads into how. And it goes a little something like this. When I was in my early 20s, I really enjoyed slow, soft, romantic, pretty vanilla sex. And I knew that there were other kinds of sex in the world, like kinky sex or BDSM, for instance, but I wasn't really interested in that, so I didn't know much about it. I was satisfied with what I was doing, so I wasn't called towards that. I was, however, interested in exploring pornography because at 25, I had never intentionally seen porn before. I know I just said intentionally. I had seen it. That's another story for another time, but intentionally. And my husband at the time, I will call him Joe, was not interested in porn. And so this was back before the internet had everything. So I would have had to go to a video store and rent a DVD and bring it home and decide like, okay, Joe, I'm watching this with or without you, which, you know, I really didn't have the security in myself to say that at the time. So I was just like, oh, well, I guess I'm just not going to watch porn. But that year for our anniversary, we booked a couple nights stay at this fancy chateau in Washington State. It was actually a winery that I was really fond of. And this was like a fancy pants chateau. I mean, it has to be fancy if it's a chateau, right? It with like hot tubs in the room. And I thought this was like the fanciest thing in the world. And one of the amenities that came with this fancy chateau room was that you could check out free adult videos from the front desk. So I was like, Joe, this is for free, and this is fancy, and this is our anniversary. This is happening. So he agrees, but he's like, okay, but you have to do the asking. Like, you have to go check out the DVD. And I was like, that's fine. That's fine. I have nothing to be ashamed of. It's fine. So I like scurry down to the front desk, and it was like, if you've ever gone to the store specifically to get just condoms or like a pregnancy test or, I don't know, tampons that aren't for you, just something that you don't want to draw attention to. So you like put things in the cart that you don't really need, like 4 flashlights or like 7 air fresheners or just whatever's around to not draw attention to the item. So I was like that. I go to the front desk and I was like, yeah, so what time was checkout again? And the gal behind the desk says 11 a.m. Anything else? And I was like, right, yeah, this is a great winery. Are there tours or whatever? And she was like, yes, ma'am, there's a brochure up in your room, but I can give you another. And I'm like, no, that's fine. That's fine. I'd like to check out an adult DVD. And this gal like doesn't blink an eye, of course. And she pulls out from under the desk this huge like DVD Bible. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those big canvas cases from the 90s that had zippers and you could house like 50 DVDs per case. Well, it was that, and she flips it open for me, and there are literally 50 DVDs to choose from. Now, mind you, I had never watched porn before, intentionally. These were all copies of porn. So they were handwritten in Sharpie marker what the title was. There was no image. I had nothing to go on. And this may sound very naive, but believe it or not, at 25, after having never seen porn and liking pretty vanilla standard sex, I kind of thought that all pornography just mimicked the kind of sex I was already having, but that the difference was these were conventionally beautiful bodies and they were being filmed. I thought the allure of it was that, oh, they're being filmed and I get to watch. So, you know, I thought it was like something out of a romantic comedy, only maybe longer and with a worse soundtrack. I didn't know. So it didn't matter which one I picked. So I just like pointed to one so that I could get out of there as soon as possible. So she writes down my information. I grab the DVD. I wish I could remember the title. I cannot. I get up into the room and Joe has got the hot tub running and he's got the candles going. And I'm like, cool, at least he's on board for this. And I put in the DVD. And it was not what I expected at all. First of all, the camera was being handheld, and the first, like the opening scene was the camera person walking down these rickety stairs into what seemed to be someone's basement. And I was like, is this a porn or is this a horror movie? I can't tell the difference. I legit did not know that amateur porn was a thing. So that seems to be what this was. So we get down into the basement and I'm like, okay, maybe there's a bed down there with a heterosexual couple, like 2 people having sex and telling each other that they love each other is what I expected. But we get down into the basement and it is a makeshift dungeon scene. And I don't mean sex dungeon exclusively, I mean medieval dungeon. So there's this cardboard backdrop that was probably spray painted with cobblestone to look like it was medieval, I guess. And over to the left was this person standing in armor, just standing there, not participating or doing anything. And then there was a very modern looking massage table in front of this cobblestone wall. And on the table was a gal wearing some black lingerie, like a black teddy, and the crotch was split open. And next to her standing was another woman. And I was like, whoa, already there's 3 people here. There's 2 women, there's a dude, I think, however they identified. I didn't know. Point is, this was not what I expected. I was down for it, just not what I expected. And the one standing up, I don't know what she was wearing. I can't remember. All I remember is that she had very long, pointy, black fingernails. And she was standing above and to the side of the one on the massage table, fingering her. And the gal on the table, receiving the fingers, had this look on her face that was a combination of pain and pleasure. And I was like, what is this? And the gal administering the finger bang was saying things to her like, yeah, you bitch, you love it, don't you? You're such a whore. Take it, you slut. And I look over at Joe, and Joe is like disgusted. And he looks at me and he's like, turn it off, this is awful. And I was like, yeah, yeah, it's awful. And I turn it off. Now, I did not turn it off because I thought it was awful. I thought it was fucking amazing. Like, it was so weird to me that I kind of identify as the world's biggest pacifist. Like, I would never dream of degrading someone or calling someone names or thinking it was hot that someone was giving me pain and calling me names and telling me I liked it. In real life, like, that would not fly. So it was such a surprise to me that this was such a turn on, and I turned the DVD off because I didn't want Joe to judge me. Now, we had our anniversary night and we had the same sex that we always do, which was great, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that kind of sex at all. But I couldn't stop thinking about that scene. And I can't remember the name of it, so I will never see it again. It's been like 10 or 15 years later, and I still think about those long fingernails and the pain and the pleasure and the you like it, bitch, don't you? And I'm into all kinds of kinky shit now, but I really think that that DVD was the catalyst that started me thinking about and getting to discover things that were new turn-ons. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because we want to hear from you, a time when you discovered that you had a new turn-on. Now we're about to go into intermission, and we would love it if you would text in your confessions to the number on the screen. We will read some of them during the second half of the show, and at the after party, we will take your confessions and we will choose 2 winners to receive those gifts from Fun Factory and from CLONE-A-WILLY and Missionary Chocolate. So you do not have to participate, but if you do, that is how you will win. We're about to go into about a 7 or 8 minute intermission. Also, take selfies of yourself watching the show and text those in to us as well. Again, a time when you discovered a new turn on, and we will see you for the second half of the show in just a few. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for sending in those confessions. I'm going to read a few of them now before we continue on with the show. And thank you. I wanted to mention the super chats that have been coming in. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Whitney. I think you just put your confession right into the super chat. So I'm going to read it. The first time taking my triad for the Mystery Box show, getting turned on, listening to the stories, and taking them to the car for some after show fun. I'm going to talk about this for a minute. It's so funny. Eric and I, it took us a long time to realize that people in the audience were actually getting turned on listening to the stories, because we think they're fantastic and great, but like we're in such work mode that it's not like a turn on for us. And also I think that would be unprofessional if it were. So I love that. I love hearing that. It helps make it fully formed, more dimensional. You know what I'm trying to say. I love that. Thank you for your confession. And that was not anonymous, but it's because I hope that was okay because you put it there. Okay. I like this one too. This one is also about the Mystery Box show. I didn't do this on purpose. This is just random. It says, the time I discovered a new turn on was when I went to the Mystery Box show in real life. So I'm assuming they mean at the Alberta Rose Theater, our stage show, pre-pandemic. A storyteller told a story about consensual non-consent, including their coworker using a knife. Oh, I know this one. I know exactly what you're talking about. A knife to get them into their car, and even threatening their bare body with a spider. This spun around in my head for weeks until on Tinder, I met a dom who would open up a whole new amazing world for me that I never would have explored if it weren't for this show. I love this so much, and I so badly want to tell everyone whose confession that was, but whose story that was, so that you can find it on YouTube and watch what they're talking about, because it's on there. If you want to hear what story they're talking about, tell me in the comments, and I'll tell you the name of the person. Let's see. Oh, we've got a couple more coming in. I'm going to do... These are all so long. I love it. I am a newbie to the kink world. I have been interested for as long as I can remember. Within the last year, I started dating someone in the community, and she is amazing. I have learned so much about myself and me sexually in these last 12 months. The turn on I've experienced was this. We were having great sex. She was on top and she's so sexy. We were sitting up in my bed and we were holding each other close. She bit me right below the left shoulder. I've been bitten before, but this was different. A shock of wonderful pain went through my body, and for a moment, she paused and then started to fuck me super hard. The best part, and another turn on, was feeling the bruise for days later. Yeah, the biting of the shoulder, I'm with you on that. These are fantastic. I'm gonna read a couple more a little bit later, and again, read more. They keep coming in. I'm holding the phone and they're buzzing. It's buzzing as they're all coming in, but we wanna get back to the stories for you. Sorry, I'm reading the, someone's asking, were we supposed to send selfies? Yes, send selfies to this text as well, to that text number on the screen. We have our third storyteller ready for you this evening. This was another one that responded to the call for storytellers that we put out on YouTube, and it's pretty cool. He is coming to us live from Kansas City, Kansas. So everyone in the show is coming from a different part of the United States tonight. And he just has a really fascinating story and a perspective that I really enjoy. And I think that you will too. So please welcome the third storyteller of this evening, Das Loomis.
We've been lying in bed for about 40 minutes in the afterglow of our first sexual experience together. It's our first date. It was my first date with Sarah, and things had progressed rather quickly, and we'd kind of missed some steps, so we were catching up. And somehow, just laying there talking, I let it out that this has been my first sexual experience in over a year with anyone, including myself. And she thought that was rather curious, and she pressed me for more information. And I said I'd been in a serious relationship with someone, and I lied, and she kicked me out. And I just decided I needed a break. I should probably step away, take a little breather, and get my head straight. And it just had lasted until I'd met Sarah. She said, what did I do that was so serious? What did I lie about? And I thought, well, you know, I should probably just give full disclosure now, because that was exactly what had led to the problem in the first place. I said, I didn't tell her some things about my past. I said, I used to be a male escort, and I had appeared in a few adult films when I was younger, and I didn't tell her. And when she found out, she got mad and she kicked me out. And it wasn't a secret. I told many people, but for some reason it had always kind of been a hit or miss situation. And I really wasn't sure if I wanted to continue with my life having that hanging over my head. So I just didn't tell her. And when she found out, she kicked me out. And Sarah was like, well, that's strange. Maybe she wasn't mad. Maybe she was just scared, or maybe she just felt like she wouldn't be able to, you were too experienced for her, or that maybe there weren't going to be any fantasies left over for her to actually fulfill for you. I was like, no, that's not true. It's the life of a male escort is never fulfilling your own fantasies. It's always just about fulfilling other people's fantasies. It's about saying yes, you know, to the things that they ask you to do. And the girl that I was with really enjoyed, and she had no problem fulfilling so many of my fantasies for me. And she goes, well, what fantasies do you still have left? And I said, well, I feel really simple. I like heels and stockings, long nails, lipstick. I'm not generally that, I don't really feel like I ask too much. So, I said, what about you? What are you still into? What kind of things are you all about? And Sarah sat up and she said, I'd like it if you peed on me. Huh. And I don't want you to think that I was being dismissive of what Sarah had to say, or that I wasn't listening to her story as she explained that a previous lover had done this for her. And at the time she didn't like it, but as time had passed, the more she thought about it, the more she grew to like it, and it became a full-fledged fantasy. But after a while, she'd never really had the courage to ask anybody to do it. None of the men that had come after that man. She just felt awkward about it. So now here she was honoring me with that secret. And I felt maybe professional pride, or maybe just personal ego, that I wanted to do this for her. I felt like this is something I should be able to do. And it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It's I didn't know how to do it. In my entire life, I had never seen anybody do this, and no one had ever asked me to do something like this. I had been asked to do all kinds of crazy things. I've been asked to dress up like Danny Zuko from Grease. I've been asked to, do a Hannibal Lecter impression watching Silence of the Lambs while I'm having sex with someone. And I've even allowed people to just lick my armpits. Everybody has their thing. And so I wanted to do this for Sarah. I felt like this was something I should be able to do. And the problem I was having was the how. I wake up every day having to go to the bathroom. I also wake up every day with an erection that I wish that I could muster when it was necessary, but I never find it. And these two things, this erection and the need to pee, do not coexist well in life. And I just couldn't see how you could make this happen. I just didn't know how to do it. But we ended up going to, falling asleep. And the next day, we woke up and we made a date for the following weekend, for Saturday. And that gave me a whole week to think about it. I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I'll figure it out. Sarah lived about 2 hours away from me, so I had a long drive home to think about it. And I thought, I need some advice. And who should I call? I'm going to call my mom. Perhaps she'll know. Maybe she'll have some, piece of wisdom that she can hand down. So I called her up and she said, hi, honey, how are you? How are things going? How was your date? How was getting back out there? And I said, no, it was great. She's wonderful. She's bright and funny, and she's really beautiful, and she's very sexy. Everything went really well. We even have a date for next weekend, but something came up, and I kind of need your advice on something. I don't know if you can help, but I really would like if you could help me. And she goes, what's that? And I said, well, she wants me to pee on her. And I thought maybe you would know what to do. Well, first, I would probably do that at her house. You don't want to have to clean that up, which, if you think about it, is pretty brilliant motherly advice. And I said, well, thank you. That's smart. But is there anything you could kind of tell me about the, the mechanics, the machinations of it? And she's like, I've never done that before. I don't really know. And you're just going to be kind of have to figure that out on your own. But I'm sure you will. I says, well, thanks. I finished the drive home. And at the time I was living quite a bit out in the boonies, and I didn't have internet at my house. So if I was going to get online to look at some porn to kind of figure it all out, I'd have to go to the local internet coffee house in the small town nearby. And I just felt like watching pee-porn in public was probably going to raise some red flags, and this probably wouldn't be the best thing for me to do. My next best option was to drive a few hours over to Pasco, go to an adult bookstore that I knew that was there. But as I got there, I realized that it was a dead end. There really wasn't much I could glean from the boxes and the magazines there. They had them all covered up. So it was kind of a dead end, kind of a mistake. I was driving home and I thought, I know someone that may be able to help me here, someone that has a lot more experience than I do. She's like the sexual Wikipedia, someone I'd worked with many years ago. I hadn't talked to her in a long time. So I gave her a call. I said, Sandy, how are you? Where are you at? She's like, oh my goodness, it's great to talk to you. What's going on with you? How have you been? Where have you been? Talk to me. And I said, well, I'm doing great. Life is great. I'm up here in Washington State, and this is kind of a professional call. I need some help. And she said, well, what's on your mind? I said, well, I'm seeing a girl, and she's asked me to pee on her. Uh-huh. Well, I'm kind of hoping you might have some info that would help me, make this happen. And she said, this is touchy, but first off, make sure you do it at their place. And I said, yeah, I've got that part. She said, well, to be honest, everybody's different with this, and you really probably better off just asking her what she wants than just trying to figure it out on your own. Just put your ego aside and just ask her, And I was like, that's genius. I felt so relieved that she said that. And I just felt like this burden had been lifted. And for the rest of the week, I was relaxed. And Saturday came, and I'm driving 2 hours north. And in the vehicle next to me are 2 large bottles of cranberry juice. And the whole theory behind fruit juice and the flavor of cum, I thought, may correlate to urine, but I wasn't sure, but I just thought I would cover my bases. I got to Sarah's house, and she met me at the door, and she was wearing heels and stockings. And the lips were done, and she had long nails, and she just looked better than any fantasy I'd ever created in my mind. We went to dinner, and she told me about her week, and the cases she was working on, the judges she'd been dealing with all day. We went back to her place, and our clothes came off before the door even closed behind us. And we had some wonderful, fascinating, energetic sex. The kind that is fantasy. It's just built on fantasy. It's wonderful. And she was on top, and she laid down on my bare chest, and she put her head next to mine, and she said, remember what we talked about last week? I was like, yeah. She said, well, would you do that for me? And I was like, absolutely. But I gotta be honest, I don't know what to do. You're gonna have to tell me what to do. And she said, I got you. And she took my hand, and she led me into the bathroom, and she climbed into her tub, and she laid down, and she began to rub all over her body with her hands. She just said, pee on me. I just want you to pee on me. And I stood there above her, trying to think of waterfalls and of little cherubs peeing into bird baths and rivers and water fountains, anything. And I just couldn't find any piss in my entire body. And then my mind started to drift to just images of drunks pissing on tires and people just, peeing out of spite. And including that little cartoon Calvin and Hobbes that, pissing on some corporate logo with that little snicker on his face. I couldn't get it out of my head, and I couldn't do it. I didn't want to pee on her. I didn't feel comfortable doing this. And I said, Sarah, I'm sorry. I can't do this. And I'm really sorry. And the look of anticipation left her face, and it was replaced by disappointment. And she stood up and she said, "That's fine. That's fine. There's no big deal." And she put on a robe and she left the room. And I knew that was fatal, and that was a critical mistake on my part. The next morning when I left, we didn't make a date for the next weekend, and I knew that I would never see her again. And I was driving home, and I was feeling pretty low, pretty depressed. And so I called my mom, and she was like, "Well, how did it go? Tell me about the date. Were you able to do it?" And I was like, no, I wasn't able to do it. It's just not in me. It's not something that I can do, I guess. And she said, "You know what? That's not everybody is built for everybody. You don't have to say yes to everything that is asked of you. It's okay to say no. It's okay to try things. It's okay to experiment with things, but you don't have to say yes, and you're not going to be the best. Not everybody is built to please everybody. You'll be fine." And I thought, that's the greatest piece of advice my mother's ever given me, this one. Thank you.
That was Das Loomis, everyone, coming to us from Kansas City, Kansas. Like I said, just I think a unique perspective that we don't hear from a lot of. My words didn't come out very succinctly, but I think you know what I'm saying, and we just really value and appreciated that perspective, Loomis. Thank you so much for that. I hope that I'm as awesome as a mom as your mom is. Do you think that I could call your mom for sex advice? Maybe we'll talk. I wanted to read a few more confessions before moving on, and I wanted to give a big shout out to another one of our live stream sponsors, Shebop, who is local here to Portland. They're a female-friendly sex toy boutique. They've been our sponsor from day one, so for 8 years. And right now, they have a lot of online classes going on right now. They had to close down today for curbside pickup, which they've been doing since the pandemic because the air quality here is so bad. So as much love and support as we can give Shebop, we want to do that. They've got some online classes coming up, which are sex positive parenting. Oh, it's right here on the screen. So sheboptheshop.com. Tomorrow it's the sex positive parenting. Loomis, did your mom go to that class? Penis to prostate and lap dance 101. So you can check them out. They have classes that continue all the time. So keep checking back to see what Shebop has to offer. They're an amazing resource. I particularly enjoyed this confession. The confessions keep coming in, and please continue to send in your confessions throughout the evening. If we don't read your confession here on the show tonight, we will be reading them on Confession Corner, which is another series that we do on YouTube. So hit that notification bell, subscribe to us, and you might hear your confession on Confession Corner. Well, I was a happily married, cisgender, and straight woman with the same man for 22 years. At the age of 38, I was pretty sure I knew all there was to know about my sexual kinks. So I thought. I say because on one fine evening, my very hot and masculine husband came out to me as a woman. She's even hotter now, and I've come to realize that I'm even more into my spouse now. I did not realize how into women, especially trans women, I really am. Well, now I'm in a lesbian marriage, and that suits me just fine. That is amazing, and these are anonymous, of course, confessions. So whoever wrote this, if you wanted to pitch this as a story to us, if you happened to want to do that, please do. Find out how at mysteryboxshow.com. I'm a little bit teary-eyed. Thank you for sharing that with us. That was amazing. Let's see, let me read this one here. My ex-husband knew he was a sub long before I knew anything of BDSM. I was very vanilla and a recovering devout Christian when we met. After we had been together for a few years, he started asking me to fuck him with a strap-on. He had even purchased one in the hope that I would say yes. The idea revolted me, but I would eventually agree since he's always so giving with me, and indulged my sub desires, giving with me and indulge my sub desires. The first time we did it was very awkward, but after a while, I found myself getting really into it. And by the time he finished, I realized my panties were completely soaked through. That was the day I discovered I'm a switch. This is really awesome. These are all like really, really touching and moving. Thank you for sharing these. Again, we're gonna read a couple more of these at the after party, and we will also announce the winner of those prizes with these confessions. Keep sending them in. You might hear yours on Confession Corner. Keep sending us your selfies of you watching the show. Those might be on our social media. And if you want even more Mystery Box Show, I know I've mentioned our Patreon and our PayPal that you can donate to, a one-time donation. Find us on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook. All that information is on our website at mysteryboxshow.com. We also, since our last show, have launched our much anticipated podcast. So you can now have sexy stories in your ear holes every other week? Every other week. I'm brand new to this. Every other week. And you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, all the places. We are here for you in that regard. And we have one more storyteller for you before we head into the virtual after party and the launch of our auction, which I hope you've all checked out the auction at 32auctions.com/mysteryboxshow2020. You can view it now. It goes live at 8 p.m. You can start bidding at 8 p.m. We've got some cool shit, I'm not gonna lie. But we've got an even cooler storyteller for you to round out this evening. She is an educator and a writer, and she is the host of the Dirty Talk podcast. She is coming to us live from San Francisco, California. This is a very unique and also beautiful story. Please welcome the last storyteller of the evening, Rain DeGray.
As I laced up the sneakers worn and sweated in by hundreds of naked women before me, I could hear the crowd chanting my name. Rain, rain, rain. The sneakers were so I didn't accidentally break one of my toes, because nobody wants a broken toe. I don't know, there might be some weird masochist that's into broken toes, but that's not my thing. I was about to do naked wrestling in front of a crowd of 60 complete strangers for a live kink.com show. Kink.com, for those of you who don't know, is the premier BDSM porn company. They had over 25 different sites, and they specialize in kink and fetish. I grew up with relatively open-minded parents that didn't burden me with a lot of the guilt and shame that it can come around sexuality. So when I became an adult, I started exploring my raw and authentic, honest sexual self. And I found myself in a dungeon in San Francisco playing, and someone said to me, "Hey, Rain, you should put in an application and submit to work for kink.com." And I figured, why not? It wouldn't suck to get paid to do something I love and I'm doing for free anyway. So I put in an application to Kink, and to my great surprise, they hired me on the spot, which is how I ended up becoming an accidental porn star. I never meant to be a porn star. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a librarian. When I started working for Kink, I had worked for almost every single site they had, and they had electrical sites and fetish sites and impact play sites and bondage sites and rope sites. But there was one site that was different than all the others, and that site was called Ultimate Surrender. and it was competitive, erotic wrestling, where at the end of the match, the winner would fuck the loser. And after working on almost every single site that kink had to offer, the one site I had not worked for was Ultimate Surrender. And when talent approached me and said, hey, would you like to try Ultimate Surrender? I have a motto. My motto is, I'd rather try something once and not like it than be on my deathbed and think of all the things I wish I'd had the courage to try and it was too late. So bearing that motto in mind, I said, sure, I will take an Ultimate Surrender match. They paired me against someone named Amber Rain, and I have at least half a foot on her. I have a good 15 to 20 pounds on her, and I was confident. I was cocky. I'm like, I don't know how hard this is going to be, but I'm going to kick this chick's ass. This is going to be fine. And we go to do the match, and this tiny, scrappy little thing wipes the floor with me. The way that Ultimate Surrender is set up, if you can force someone to have an orgasm, you get an extra 100 points. I don't know if any of you have checked out my work. I come easily, I come quickly, almost anything makes me come. It's really not hard to rip an orgasm out of me. And Amber started fingering me and she had me pinned and she made me come on the mat, which is incredibly humiliating. She gets 100 points on the board. She wins. And when you're wrestling and someone is pressed against you, their flesh against you, and you cannot get out, you have no choice in the matter. It's sweaty skin pressed against yours. And you can't get free. And she won. And she gets to strap on fuck me at the end of it. And if there's ever a time that you're not feeling sexy, you're sweaty, everything's dripping, someone just kicked your ass and now they're fucking you. It's the taste of defeat is like bitter ashes in your mouth. But this match awoken a fiercely competitive spirit in me. I had not grown up with sports, and I started doing wrestling and I started taking it incredibly seriously. I got a trainer. I wrestled weekly. I became a collection of injuries. I had an injured rib. I was wrestling in knee braces. I was wrestling in wrist braces. Everything hurt, and it didn't matter because I was so incredibly competitive, and I loved the art of wrestling. After 4 years, my injuries had accumulated to the point that I had to be honest and realize I wasn't healing, and I was going to have to stop doing something that I loved and was incredibly passionate about. I got booked for a live Ultimate Surrender match. The live matches are different than regular Ultimate Surrender because they open up the set and they open it, the audience members come, a bunch of people watch, and you do the entire shoot live in front of a crowd of strangers. I got booked to fight someone she looked like a Bond villainess. She was over 6 feet tall, this blonde, intimidating Russian. She had 30 pounds on me, but it was her first match. And I got paired with my teammate and we whispered some quick strategy and stepped onto the set. And Bond villainess didn't stand a chance. I had been training for 4 years for this moment. Her raw, untested strength meant nothing against the years of strategy I had spent accumulating. I got her in side chokes. I had her pinned down. I had her from behind. I cleaned her clock. Victory was sweet and delicious. At the end of 3 rounds, in which I won, the 4th and final round is the fucking round. And I took this Bond villainess whose ass I had just thoroughly kicked, put her on her hands and knees facing the audience, high-fived my teammate, and slid my victorious dick into her loser pussy, grabbed the back of her hair, made her face the audience as I fucked Victory into every inch of her. I hope wherever she is now, Amber Rain is proud. I loved every minute of wrestling. I ended up going out on top.
That was Rain DeGray, everyone. Way to nail the ending. I love the ending to that story. That was our show, everyone. Thank you to all of our storytellers. Rain DeGray, you can find her at raindegray.com. That info should be on the screen right now. And thank you to Loomis, to EARTHNOVA, to Tatiana Shirley, our production assistant, Nicole Perkins, to my co-producer, Eric Scheuer. I'm Reba Sparrow. This is the Mystery Box Show. Please stick around for our virtual after party where we get into the nitty-gritty, the behind the scenes, the stuff they didn't talk about in the story. I'm going to read a few more confessions. We're going to launch our live auction. We're going to announce winners. It's going to be a true party. Stick around. It's happening right now. Yay, everyone. Amazing job. Woohoo. You can all unmute yourselves. Let's talk.
Yay. Congratulations, everyone.
That was a really
great show.
show. How's everyone feeling?
Good.
Good. Woo! Yeah, fantastic. Nicole, have you been moderating? Are people wanting to know things? I always have questions because, Eric and I coach these stories so closely, and, it's definitely a collaboration, and there are a lot of things that we know that you, the audience, doesn't know, backstories and things that didn't make it into the actual story and things like that. I know a lot of us were like, and originally when Loomis pitched his story to us, for instance, I think the focus was more on, hey, that one time I asked my mom for sex advice, and it sort of morphed from there. So I know a lot of people were like, damn, you got a great mom. Loomis, would you be comfortable sharing a little bit about that, or, about your mom? And
What do you want to know?
Yeah, just, I guess that's a pretty...
It was, okay, so we didn't have, I wasn't very close growing up with her, and I grew up with my father. My father passed away, and she showed up at the funeral, and so we reconnected at the funeral, and we were trying our best to manufacture a relationship in that kind of hyper emotional environment. And so we were trying to find new ways to communicate with each other, trying to figure out where the boundaries were. And because we were both adults and we really hadn't bonded in mother-son kind of way, we just kind of, I don't know if it was artificial or not, but we just started off by just revealing things just to see what we could do. And she had revealed to me the week before something that she had done that was kind of personal on a date. And so I just felt like this, in that same vein of honesty, that she would be the person I would ask when I needed some advice. And that's why I called her. She was just perfect for that time. And she is actually very brutally honest. And if you were ever going to need someone to, give you advice for anything, I mean, even if she doesn't know you, you could just run up to her and ask her for advice, and she would just be very brutally honest. You'd probably hate it, but it would be really good advice. And she's perfect for that. She's one of those people that's just built to be a sage.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting that a lot of times, we're always saying it's okay. Like, of course it's okay. Whoever you have boundaries with regarding sexuality or anything, like, it's okay. Like, you get to dictate what your boundaries are and who your boundaries are with. And a lot of people, myself included, I run this sex show, and my sister and my niece are watching right now, and that's great. But if my mom were to hop on, I know that she is supportive. She shows her support in many, many ways. But I would still feel a little uncomfortable and be like, boundaries, mom doesn't need to hear that. So it's really interesting having not grown up with your mom and then the boundary not necessarily being there. But some people did grow up with their mom and there isn't a boundary around that either. So I don't know. I just think it's really interesting. I'm not saying one thing or another about it. It's just interesting, I guess, that like everybody's unique and all relationships and boundaries are unique.
I'll clarify. She was around. She just wasn't. We didn't have a very traditional family growing up. It was two families, and she ended up on the smaller percentage of seeing me side of it. So when we finally did connect, I was in my late 20s, and she had finally discovered who she was as a person, having been through 2 marriages, and she came out clean on the other side, and she was just a much more fabulous and awesome person. Yeah. And she's just continued to be that. Now, in the same vein of her being great for advice, she's also one to have some really strict and interesting pieces of it, like theories about women. And I have an older brother, and she had this theory that she once told me. We were young, like when I still knew her, and I had to be like 10 or 11. Okay, so this is the concept. She said, "Be careful. Women put cocaine on their pussies, and you remember that." To get you addicted. That's what they do. They put cocaine on their pussies. You remember that. And like I said, I'm 10 or 11 years old. I'm not sure what cocaine is or pussy, but that's what she's like, okay. So, and if it's true,
is that to say like it's addicting?
I think so.
It's a metaphor.
Right. That was intentional. Nicole, I see a bunch of more questions coming in. Did you?
Yeah.
Do you want to administer those? And I also want to bring Eric onto the screen, who's been responsible for all the tech and beautiful filming you've seen going on. Eric is here to join us at the party.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nicole, tell us what they've been saying out there.
Yeah. There's one question that is in relation to Loomis's story, but I think really anyone could answer it. Where when a person accepts that people aren't built to please everyone, what's the most healthy way to continue to engage in the sex you want and still be willing to explore with others?
I feel like Tatiana might
have
sexy
what?
Insight on that.
What was that word after sexy?
So what's a healthy way to continue to engage in the sex that you want and still be exploring with others? If you kind of come to a point where you accept that maybe not everyone is built for the partner that you're with. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I would say like communicate like how Loomis was doing. They communicated prior to, and they were like on the terms, and like Loomis in the story was like working toward that day to come. It wasn't like, okay, you want me to pee on you, let's just do it right away. That's kind of like unreasonable. You can't just throw out a kink and then expect someone to jump on board. And when you find out that it's not your style or that it wasn't exactly what you expected, there's so many other ways to experience pleasure. There's so many new there's so many different styles that you can engage in that it doesn't have to limit to that one thing. And there's ways that you can tease or emulate, fantasies and fantasy play. Like if it were urine, you can warm up water so it feels like, with food coloring, just to emulate that sensation. So there are ways to work around it, or you can try it completely new, kinks and fetishes.
I like that.
That's a great suggestion.
Sort of mimicking
I'm telling you, everyone, I found her on Instagram. Go follow her right now at Shop Ardently.
That's some good advice.
At Shop Ardently, right? That's the handle for Instagram.
With an L-E-Y.
Yeah.
L-E-Y.
Yeah.
Like Shirley.
Yeah. Nicole, keep administering questions, but I do see someone here has asked, is the boudoir session for men as well? And that's in regard to our silent auction, which is now live.
Oh, should I put that on?
Put it live.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The boudoir session I think you're referring to is from Marina Green Photography, and she is open to all genders or no gender. She'll absolutely work with you for anything you want to do. She's phenomenal. Feel free to message me privately if you want pictures that she's done of me, or I'm sure people who are watching right now or on this chat have even had photo sessions with her that they'd be willing to vouch for her and the things that she can do. So absolutely.
Yeah, Marina's fantastic.
Yeah.
And thank you for all the super chats coming in. Rose, thank you, and Adam. And we also wanted to, if we just saw that we got a new $3 patron from Michael. Thank you for signing up at patreon.com. If you're still watching, thank you so much. I just wanted to get that out there before the questions continue.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, another question. Where did it just go? I had it. Oh, it was for Rain, and it kind of leads into a question that I have, which the question is, Rain, asking if, do you not have a crew of lackeys to weigh fans and feed you grapes? Which is a joking question, but it sort of is interesting to me. Like, what is your fan base like kind of in the work that you do, and what's that relationship like? I imagine that there might be sort of like a false level of closeness that fans might have, seeing sort of an intimate side of you, but you don't see any side of them.
I'm so glad that you asked that, because this is actually one of the guiding mottos that I live my entire life by, which is that I'm a very kinky, open, sex positive person. And there's endless footage of me. My butthole is all over the internet. If you're curious what each individual spoke of my butthole looks like, that is a very quick Google search, which causes an artificial sense of intimacy. I know when I watched porn and then I met porn stars for the first time, it's the same thing like meeting an actress or an actor or a writer. You know what someone looks like, you know what they sound like, you know how they move their bodies, you know what they're into, you know what they sound like coming, you know what they look like naked. You feel like you know that person. Mm-hmm. I would feel like I would know someone. And then because I'd seen them coming, I'd seen them squirting all over the place, and you meet them in real life and you're like, we totally have a connection. And they're like, who are you? I don't know. Yeah, but I know what your vulva looks like when it contracts when you're having a squirting orgasm. People feel like they know me, and that's both good and bad. I have people that have never met me that think they're my best friend. I have people that email me daily. I have people that keep tabs on me and are fascinated with who I am as a person, which is flattering. But there's only one of me, and there are tens of thousands. I don't have a number on it. But if I were to give everybody attention that asked for it, it would be something I would be doing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not sustainable. And when someone has an artificial sense of familiarity and they know that you're their best friend and you don't act like the best friend they know you to be, they get disappointed and resentful. Mm-hmm. And they're frustrated. They're like, but I know everything about you. We're pals. And I'm like, I don't know your name. Mm-hmm. And then they end up not liking you because they're angry that you're not operating on this one-sided relationship. I meant to be a librarian. I never meant to be a professional naked person, but I am. You obviously have to interact with fans, because I wouldn't get to do the things I love and I'm passionate about if I didn't have fans supporting me. And 99.9% of the fans are amazing. It's the people that get my legal address and send me weird packages in the mail and threaten to kidnap me and keep me in the basement that are a little nerve-wracking. Don't kidnap me and keep me in your basement. I don't want to be there. I don't consent.
Consent is very important. Yeah, you wanted to ask, we had a question for EARTHNOVA too before we go on. I know I see more coming in too.
I did, yeah, EARTHNOVA. Because one of my favorite things about these after-party things is that there's always more to the story. And I think, like what Reba was saying, especially about Loomis, is that like when we coach these stories, we often hear a lot more. And EARTHNOVA, you were saying that after this particular party, like it like launched you into a whole new world, that like you carried on to brand new relationships and things that you learned. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Right. So this was in December of 2014, and afterwards, several times a month, sometimes several times a week, I'd go out at night. I learned to pack a go bag. I go to different kinds of parties. I'm on FetLife, and got a few circles of friends, and learned a lot about different configurations of things. And the first break I had from that was when I had my first relationship. I had all this sex with literally hundreds of people, And then I got a girlfriend, and I used what I learned from those parties to help her with the relationship. And that was like I passed my more experienced knowledge to her from what I learned from those things, just for our prototypical, going steady relationship. That was a lot, slower. And then after that relationship, going in and out of different parties, but it's like, learning the scene, the different kinds of parties, the differences between a dungeon, hotel room, illegal Airbnb, like, there's differences in customs and expectations and prices, and I learned all those things. A lot of that afterwards. That was not a one and done thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think something that's so charming about the story you told tonight is that you were like, well, if I'm going to lose my virginity, I'm not going to just like dip my toe in the water. I'm going to go big or go home. And you're just like, sex party happening. And I think that something that folks who are not heavily in the kink community or in the kink community at all, I don't want to, what am I trying to say? Here, I'm going to rephrase that. I think that being involved with kink and BDSM and all of the sexy things requires healthy communication, big time. And that's not something that you really know until you're doing it, that's like an added bonus that comes along with it. And I think that you either just like somehow, like you either really lucked out that you just decided this was your first interaction. I mean, that's amazing. I wish that when I had lost my virginity, I knew all of these tactics and communication skills, and that somebody was there for me to say, hey, whatever's happening is okay and you're valid. I feel like you got that on your first experience, which is just amazing. I don't know how you knew or just lucked into it or whatever, but I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I've
and made up for completely failing on the anal 3 seconds in. That wasn't made up for the story. That was really a part of it.
Right, but the fact that your nameless partner was like, that's okay. What else do you want to do?
I love that too. I have had very seldom and shallow forays into the kink community. It's not really my thing. But I think, like Reba was saying and like your story illustrates, one of the things that I was surprised by delightfully is how much communication and compassion there is for everybody, how much everybody takes care of one another, and how much I feel like over and over there's these stories of people who get into the scene thinking they're already going to be amazing because, like, yeah, I'm a big strong guy, I like calling people a bitch, and I can hit a woman, like, and they'll go in thinking that those are the qualifications, and the community is very quick to say, like, oh, no, that's not what it's about at all. Let us retrain your brain. So yeah, I think that's not what a lot of people outside of the community think of what's inside, and I hope that there is more education and transparency about that into the non-kinkster community.
Yeah.
Because they're skills that everybody can use. That's the point.
Yeah. What else we got, Nicole? I see lots of people making comments.
Yeah, I have 2 questions for Rain. The first one, I'm not entirely sure what it means. I did a quick Google to make sure it was an okay thing to ask. If in wrestling you consider yourself a face or a heel?
I am a heel. My wrestling name was Rain Poison DeGray. I was smack talking. I cheated. I was the villain. Happily. Oh gosh, yes, I can do that. Yeah, I was a bad guy.
What does that mean? What is a face and a heel?
The people that are good, like the heroic people, and then the villains, the devious, sneaky, troublemaking ones. Mm-hmm. It was more interesting to play bad. So if they blew the whistle and we were supposed to approach each other, I would lunge a quarter of a second faster and get my opponent I'm like, here are the rules, and then you hang out, you dip a toe over because I'm very bad. I'm good at being bad.
Amazing. I see that question came from Sam, who's also known as Dolly Dagger, and I just wanted to give Sam and Dolly a shout out because they are one of the donors to the silent auction with incredible handmade studded garters that hold up stockings, and the winning bidder will get custom made ones to your fit for your specific size. So go check that out at 32auctions.com/mysteryboxshow2020.
I wanted to just throw in there, this isn't even sex related at all, but like I grew up like a lot of kids in the 80s watching WWF, being a fan of that kind of wrestling. And I didn't know about faces and heels until later. And Reba and I went to some semi-pro wrestling a couple of years ago that was fascinating. I love all the storylines that happen there. Like faces and heels, they switch places. Like when I was a kid, Hulk Hogan was a face, and I think at some point after I stopped paying attention, like he became a heel. He and Andre the Giant were best friends when they were both faces, and then like there was a rivalry. Like I love the storylines that get woven into all of it. Yeah. Sorry, we just got distracted. Our cat came downstairs with a stuffed animal in its mouth.
A stuffed bee. Bee, if you're watching still, Bee has brought down the bee.
We were going to announce some confession winners.
Confession winners!
Yeah, do you want to read those?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
You know how to get into the phone?
No.
Okay. It's this.
So which one do you want to do first? Should we do the...
Yeah, let's do it.
Do the this?
Do we know who's going to win what?
Nope.
Okay.
This was random. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the Flexi Dildo and the Missionary Chocolates, it's going to... and we'll text you that you're a winner. This confession. I was invited to spend the night for the first time with a 41... Oh, I'm 41. This isn't about me, I don't think. A 41-year-old woman who I had been dating. I was somewhat younger than her at the time. As we began to take off our clothes, I was sucking her breasts, and I was surprised to find some sweet liquid coming from her. She had ended a pregnancy, but her breast had never dried up. I had not been breastfed as a child, so for me, lactation is now just another wet and wonderful fluid that we can have sexy fun with.
Ooh.
I love this confession so much. You are the winner of this Limba Flex and these missionary chocolates. We will be in touch with you. If you want to hear more about breastfeeding sexy stories, I actually have one of my stories. There's only 2 of my stories on YouTube, and that is one of them. So if you just Google my name under the Mystery Box Show, Reba Sparrow, you'll find. What's it called?
It tastes like cantaloupe.
Oh, it's called It Tastes Like Cantaloupe. Referring to the breast milk, of course. Well, congratulations to this person. And do you want to pull up the second winner?
Sure.
Randomly for this Clone-A-Willy kit, glow-in-the-dark vibrator, cloning kit, and chocolates.
Should I read this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. My husband had a rule, no kissing anyone else we play with. He's also a submissive who's into being degraded. One night we were hooking up with this guy, also a submissive into degradation. I was giving my husband a blowjob, and he finished in my mouth. Without missing a beat, I turned and gave the other guy a big passionate kiss on the lips. I looked at my husband and his face was in absolute shock and horror until he realized I simply unloaded his big load of cum into the other guy's mouth. His anger immediately turned into the biggest turn on, and that was the day my husband became obsessed with cuckolding.
Nice. Well, I don't know.
Congratulations on that experience.
All fronts. On all the fronts.
I do believe, if I remember from my Kevin Smith Clerks fandom days, that he coined that term snowballing.
Snowballing.
You remember it, right?
I know all about snowballing. Yes, I do.
I always wonder where those terms come from. I wonder if he made that up or he heard it from somewhere. He's certainly clever enough to have come up with it.
Wait, what's Whitney saying? Next
It's
time
part
I'll
of the
submit.
lexicon now.
Yeah, next time I'll submit my confession the right way. Oh, the right way.
No, but we got to read
There's
your
no wrong
confession
way.
too. We got to read it, so thank you, Whitney.
Yes, thank you for that. If it's okay with you, we'll put it on Confession Corner also. Let us know. Kevin Smith coined that.
Not sure, Adam. We're not sure if Kevin Smith came up with that or not, but it certainly seems like the sort of thing that he would have come up with.
Yeah.
Maybe not the act itself, but calling it that specific name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I feel like that's our show. That's our party.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Rain has more. Let's hear from Rain. Yeah.
There was one question that got asked that I actually really wanted to address.
Oh, sure.
Because
Please.
it's another guiding myth that I really try to break down. And the question was if there is any aftercare provided after a wrestling match. Porn is not real. It's acting. There is no aftercare. It is a fantasy. You're providing a fantasy. You're providing an experience. It's carefully shot. It's carefully edited. You cannot look at porn. Porn stars don't go home and fuck like that. So you cannot compare your real everyday life to the highlight reel that's carefully edited, shot, filtered. And you look at someone's highlight reel and you come home to your own life and you're like, but it doesn't look like the highlight reel. Nobody's life looks like the highlight reel. There is no aftercare in porn. There's no, unless it's a couple or it's someone that's together, but you go and get, start working for a studio, they book you, they give you a paycheck. You come in, you're vulnerable, you expose your naked body, you are incredibly intimate, then they hand you a towel and you go home. And if you can't deal with the fact that there's no aftercare in porn, then you're not cut out to be a professional naked person.
Yeah. Thanks for addressing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. If you want to wrap up the show, I'll get us ready to close out. I'm going to step back into the tech corner.
Wrestling's real, the actor is non-existent.
Yeah. So once again, you all were amazing. Thank you for being here, and everyone who tuned in tonight, thank you for being here and for sticking around for the after party. Again, you can hear more confessions on the Confession Corner video that will be up in, I don't know, a week or so, or 2 weeks. Like, we usually get them out there pretty quickly, but we are, like I said, in the middle of some wildfires going on here, so we want to be available for our friends and family and neighbors and strangers who need our help. So we'll get that video out as soon as we can. And please, seriously, go to that auction site. I have been obsessed putting this auction together because I couldn't believe what amazing people just were like, yeah, let me donate my talents to you. There's a lot of virtual things, so no matter where you are in the world, you can still bid on them. We have contactless pickup for most of the items, and we also have shipping. It's a good way to help keep this show running, help get these storytellers compensated, our production assistant Nicole, who works so hard and just keep us going, but also seriously some amazing things that we hope that you would all enjoy. So thank you again everyone for being here. Like us, is that what you do? Follow us and like us, do all of the things, and we'll follow you.
Smash that like button. Smash it.
That's right. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, do all the things. And we hope you're all staying safe and healthy. And we'll see you in October, mid-October, for our next show. All right. Mwah.